Hello everyone, this video will cover Module 8. So this is the last module for the class, and I do try to open it a little early because there are quite a few assignments, and you may want to get started on it early. Some of you also need to end the class early, so that's totally fine. Try to get this one opened up typically with the previous module so you have extra time to work on it. Also keep in mind that the class ends August 1st, which means that you do not have, that's a Friday, you do not have that extra weekend like we have had for the other modules. You had kind of a wiggle room there at the end over the weekend. You need to have everything done and turned in for August 1st. That deadline is the Allen deadline. So all classes close on that day. I can't leave any assignments open past that point. So you'll need to make sure that you are preparing to get everything turned in by that time. So you've got a couple of things to do. We're working on revision and review here, and this assignment here, this revision assignment, does take a little bit longer. The review quiz and the final reflection should be fairly standard. You may have done something similar in Comp 1. The revision assignment also is very similar to something that if you took Comp 1 with me, you may have had this assignment as well. For the revision assignment, basically what you're doing is looking back through the essays that you've written this semester and trying to identify sentences with issues in them. They may be a specific grammatical problem, or it may be just an issue with wording. You didn't like how it was worded the first time. This just gives you a chance to start to really isolate errors. A lot of you are using programs that are helping you with the grammar, so it's not necessarily like going to be like comma errors or something. At this point now we're starting to look for sentences that just don't work as well as other sentences. You could, if you wanted to, go through each essay and reword every single sentence to improve it. Not that you need to, but you could. And so that's what I want you to be thinking about, is looking, especially if you're looking back at like your first essay that you wrote this semester, what are some things that you notice in there that you could improve on now that you've written multiple essays in the class? So a lot of students will end up with a lot of corrections for that first essay there. I've got some examples here. Basically what I'm expecting is you put the original sentence, you correct the sentence, and then you explain what you did. And you'll do that 20 times. So it doesn't matter which essay. You can, if a lot of students will choose to isolate them by the essay that they're from, just so that they remember, you know, they'll put that label there, just so that they remember which essay they were in when they look for the sentence, but you don't have to. I'm just counting to make sure you did 20 corrections, basically. So it doesn't matter whether they are ones that I pointed out, whether they're ones that you found, whether you have somebody else look over your work and try to help you find sentences. It doesn't really matter. If you have a correction that you would make that affects the entire essay, you can put it like this, like an entire essay paragraph arrangement would be rearranging information in paragraphs 2 and 3 because they were out of chronological order. So that kind of thing is fine. You do not need to copy and paste the entire essay in here. The other thing that you don't need to do is make changes to the essay itself. So you're actually just taking sentences out of the essay and putting them in a new document, and you're collecting 20 of them. That's why individual sentences work better for this, instead of like big things that would affect the entire thing. You might also find that it doesn't exist in the original. So like if you didn't have a thesis statement in the original, you would say original. It didn't exist. You know, the corrected version, you would write out the thesis that you should have put in the original, but obviously in this case you're not having to add it to the original. So the corrected version would be just then the thesis itself, and then the explanation would be my original did not have a thesis. So that kind of thing is also fine to put in there. Again, 20 errors if you are struggling to find sentences, you can also look through assignments that I haven't graded yet. So you're working on this, I probably haven't graded your research paper yet. You can definitely look through it and look for sentences that need correcting. So that's one assignment. That does take a little while because you're going back and forth between different essays, but you should be able to find 20 things total. The rest of the class is just review, and so you have a review quiz that pulls from the other quizzes that you've taken this semester. It is worth 40 points, and they are double points for each question. So this should be stuff that's all review. I do have a list of all the readings that we've done this semester, but then that way, as you take the quiz, you may want to go back and kind of look over it, but you can take it multiple times. It's not an exam, so you can take it multiple times. And then the last thing that I want you to do is to just reflect on the semester in an essay form rather than bulleted list. So at midpoint, you could do a bulleted list. Here, I want you to actually write out an essay, minimum of 3 paragraphs, just answering questions like, did you meet your goal for the semester, especially the ones that you set out in the first email that you emailed to me, which essay did you do the best on, the worst, and then would you learn about your writing? So you might have done something similar in Comp 1. The last thing in here is the end of course survey, which there may or may not have been a midpoint survey for you that you could have done. This one's extra credit if you take it. It's anonymous and it just helps me to improve the class for next semester. So any of your typed comments I can see, I just don't know who left them. So it's really helpful for me to see some feedback on the class. If you have any questions at all, please send me an email. Otherwise, I hope you have a great week and a wonderful rest of your summer.